Well, you have been pitching to the investor for a few times, you had a few conversations, and now you get a no. Or you could be reaching out to so many investors, some of them don't even come back to you, and the ones who come back said that this is not a right fit for them at this time. How do you interpret that? Well, first, it's a very common thing for you to get a no from any investor. In general, majority of the firms only invest in a few companies per year. In that case, majority of the investors will be saying no most of the time and very occasionally saying yes to a few companies. From this article by Harvard Business Review, you can see that on average, the firm will consider out of 100 opportunities, 28 of these opportunities will lead to a meeting, and 10 will be reviewed by a partner meeting, and 4.8 will proceed to due diligence, and 1.7 will move on to negotiation. So this is really 1 in 100 chance of actually getting a yes eventually. So probability wise, it's very common to get a no, and don't be discouraged when you get a no. Some VC investors will give you some feedback about your investment ideas, which is really great because if they're willing to write a long email, that means that they're genuinely kind of interested in your startup and is willing to help you out a little bit. They probably also respect you well as a founder, because VC investors sometimes get so many opportunities in a day. It's almost impossible to reply to every individual person. So if you did not hear about anything from the VC, you can follow up. But in general, if they have not come back to you in a very long time, they're probably not as interested in your startup idea. Follow-up does help, because I have seen many cases where VC investors will have a look at an opportunity, be quite cold about it for a while, but then reignite the passion about one investment opportunity after a while. So it's definitely possible to get a no to start with, and then eventually that may lead to a yes if you have shown that your company is growing and you're on the right track after a long time. When I was an investor, it's actually a really hard job to say no to founders, because a lot of them are quite inspiring. I really love their passion and sometimes quite interested in their ideas. But the reality is that when you look at so many investment opportunities, only a few are special enough for you to feel so convinced that you want to put money in them. And a lot of times it has something to do with the market timing. When you get a feedback about the specific areas that the VC investors have concern about, you can go back and improve that. The investors generally assess investment opportunities from a few different perspectives: the market, the technology, it can also be the product, and finally the team. For example, if your team is very strong technically, because you are funded by a few engineers, but relatively thin on the commercial side of things, you can onboard, say, a commercial co-founder or an advisor with a lot of industry expertise to compensate for the lack of commercial backgrounds in the team. You can also add more evidence of your consumer interests. Say, if you recently onboarded a customer, you can be sending follow-up emails to a VC talking about why they're interested in your product and the main benefit that they're getting and the feedback that they're giving you as a customer. It's very important that you don't get discouraged and just pushing through, because investment is very subjective. Even within the same firm, different people can have different conviction about a very specific investment opportunity. Many great founders who have funded world-changing companies have received so many rejections in their early days before getting a yes. For example, Google and Canva both received many no before they finally get funded. Fundraising is a process that can be quite tiring, quite long, and frustrating at the same time. I think one of the best capability that a founder can have is the resilience. If you can power through the no's from the investor, That shows great strengths as a leader. Timing is also ultra important during the fundraising process. For example, in the beginning of the pandemic, many VC firms simply stopped investing, regardless of how great an investment opportunity can be. It's just not the right time for them. In this scenario, you could be just working on your product and try to grow your company while waiting for a good time to go back to the market for fundraising again. If your industry is ticking off and more people are getting interested, definitely take a chance and ride the tide, because once many VC firms invest in the certain area, they would not make the second investment again. So taking advantage of a good timing is also important. One last thing to remember is that it's already very inspiring that you started something. So as a founder, you should feel proud of yourself to do something that may eventually bring some positive impact in the world. And a no is temporary, but the whole process itself that you're experiencing will be a great fortune in your lifetime. Regardless of how many no you're receiving, a yes from yourself is the most important one. So keep the courage and keep going. That's it for today. I'll see you next time.